Hey everyone, Brendan Snyder here. How are you? Thanks so much for joining me and welcome to another episode of New Music Finds, where I like to collect together all the different things that I've picked up in the past week. And I get it from different places like my local record store, but also online retail like Amazon, eBay, and more. And I got 9 different things to run through with you, all new releases this time. Usually there's a mix of stuff, but this particular week had a lot of cool new releases to talk to you guys about. So we're going to get into that here in just a bit. But before we start, if you're new to my channel and you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do. Also, leave a comment, hit like. All those things do help support my channel. I'd greatly appreciate it. And of course, as an added bonus, if you turn on notifications, you'll never miss an episode and stay up to date on really cool episodes just like this with new music finds, talking about new releases where I hopefully can turn you guys onto some new stuff. And so the first one up that we've got here is the return of a band called Sergeant Thunderhoof, and this is their brand new album called Ghost of Baden Hill. And so I previously talked to you guys about this band. They're on Pale Wizard Records. So you can head over either to the band's website or the record label to check them out. But they're a very interesting band who've leaned more towards the doom metal sounding stuff for a while, but they definitely seem to be branching out on this. I hear more elements of progressive metal as well as traditional metal on this. So if doom metal plus the mix of those things in it sound interesting to you, this would be an interesting release to check out. And it's a conceptual album as well, where it dates back to the 4th century in terms of what they're exploring here and the whole Arthurian mysticism, it says. I don't know if that specifically means the whole King Arthur scene and everything, but definitely back to that same time frame. And, they're looking into the local history and lore and stuff like that where they're from, which is kind of a cool thing. And I know a lot of you people are interested in all of that, magical nights and mystery and that sort of stuff. And so this album here is doing that and definitely be something right up your alley if you like those things. The LP edition, this one, limited to 250 copies. There's 2 variants that you can get, but this one here, the Octavian edition, 180-gram vinyl, colored vinyl, limited version, and then they have another one that you can pick up as well. And of course, always gotta have the CD. So there you go. But yeah, definitely worth exploring this band out of the UK. I've looked at, like I said, I've talked to you guys about them before, and I liked what they were doing, and got their new album here. And they also sent this. You want to check that out there's the band you can see. But yeah, so look them up, give them a go, see what you think. And other stuff that came out, things that really kind of, a lot of cool things actually, I have to say, between the Sergeant Thunderhoof album, but then some of these other releases, I didn't have high hopes for some of this stuff. And one in particular was Gwen Stefani Bouquet. Now, I love Gwen Stefani and I love No Doubt, but I hadn't really been into her direction that she had gone on solo albums. But this one here returns her to a more straight ahead rock sound. It's definitely got pop influences on it, like all of her stuff does. But it's more like a sort of traditional sound, like a Fleetwood Mac or something, than any of the past R&B, hip hop, that sort of leanings that she had done and made her own thing. What is gone though is that 80s synthwave sound that she had done on some of the tracks that I was a big fan of. I would have liked an entire album of that. It never really came to fruition. She always sprinkled those on. But this one here has got to be the most consistent sounding album all the way through. All 10 tracks on here. And if this cover throws you for a loop, making you think it's going to be country, just flip it over and see that picture and you know that that is not the case. But no, it doesn't really have a country flavor at all. You can hear tinges of stuff, and how can it not? She's married to Blake Shelton, and he even duets with her on the last track, Purple Irises. But check out the opening song on here, Somebody Else's. but like the first 4 or 5 tracks on here are all really, really good. And I've been listening to this thing nonstop since I got it. And I was really just buying it because it's Gwen Stefani and I like her voice and I remember her from No Doubt and all of that. And then it turned out to be a great release. So if you were on the fence about it, check it out because you, like me, might really find yourself into it after all. Okay, so another one that I wasn't expecting a whole lot from was this one. Former Guess Who frontman Burton Cummings, and this album, which is his first in 12 years, called A Few Good Moments. And there he is on the back side, kind of a cool cover there sitting between that classic car. There's 17 tracks on this thing. It's put out by JoJo Productions. And I'm not even sure really how to explain it other than it just swept me off my feet. Yes, if you're a fan of the Guess Who, if you're a fan of Burton Cummings, you're gonna like it. But I think it goes beyond that. It's just one of those albums that sounds great. Every single track, there wasn't a track on here that I wanted to skip. But check out the first 2 tracks in particular. The second track, Ain't No More, and the fourth track, Breakaway, are really, really good standout tracks and worth checking out. But it's definitely, sort of an acoustic rock with a lot of piano in it. It's just good melodies, good songwriting, like all that sort of stuff rolled into one in that album. And I was just buying it because, he's a former Guess Who member, but it turned out to be really great. Now, what's kind of cool is JoJo Productions is also reissuing a number of Burton Cummings' previous solo albums from the past, and one in particular, Heart from 1984, got a reissue. And you know me, in 1980s albums, I had to pick this one up. It just has that album cover, that look, everything about it. I sampled a few of the tracks and I said, yeah, I need an album that has that 1980s flavor to it. There's 4 bonus tracks on this as well. You've got some demo tracks, you've got a live track on here, and you've got the original 10-track album. But they're doing them very cool. They've got very nicely done booklets on these things. Well done in the art. Yeah, it's the Digipack. We don't care for that, but all very cool. And so done by the same label, and I think there's 3 or 4 others that are being reissued at the same time. So if you, like me, are really enjoying this, there's some great Burton Cummings stuff back in publication now to go back and check out. And if you've never explored him, now would be the time. If you've only ever known American Woman and some of the other key standout Guess Who songs, now's the time to check out some Burton Cummings. I certainly can't speak high enough against this album, or not against, but for this album right here. It just really swept me off my feet. Like I said, wasn't expecting it. And kind of the same would be said for this next one. Now, this next one, not really a brand new album. It's archival material, but most of it is material we've never heard. Trapeze Lost Tapes Volume 2. So 14 rare recordings. It also includes the final recording that Mel Galley did called Live Fast, Die Laughing. And Mel Galley, as a guitar player, if you don't recognize that name, either from Trapeze, maybe you recognize it because he played with White Snake, and he would go on to play with the band Phenomena. So that guy's been around, done a lot of cool stuff, but Trapeze, of course, was the vehicle with Glenn Hughes on bass. Before he joins Deep Purple, he was in Trapeze, and we got a number of cool Glenn Hughes tracks on this. There's the back side of it. They do really good packaging and art. But same thing with the booklet. There's explanation of each of these tracks on the inside here, talking about where they come from. But I wasn't expecting a lot because, first of all, this is Volume 2. Last year, 2023, they released Volume 1, which was really good. And again, thinking that, hey, they're probably scraping the bottom of the barrel. It's not going to be a whole lot of great stuff. That album, as its own, standalone, sounded really good. In fact, you couldn't quite tell that this stuff was recorded over a long period of time and included both Glenn Hughes and the other various members that took his place because it just all sounded so good. And this album being the same thing, sort of like a best of the unreleased stuff. But I thought, what possibly didn't make Volume 1 that would be getting released now, and how is it going to stand up and compare? And I gotta say, it stands up very nicely, and the quality is very good on it as well. And I think all of these are tapes from Mel Galley's personal collection. I believe that one of his brothers or someone, found all these and is putting it together and helping to take care of it. I forget how it all came about, but it's just tapes that I guess sat around and nobody thought would be worth anything. And then here we are now in a day and age where archival material is suddenly king and actually doing a lot better in sales than a lot of newer material. So we end up with cool releases like this. And I'm so glad that we're getting it as a standalone disc and we're not getting it as we're having to buy a box set of Trapeze albums with one disc of bonus material. We're getting the bonus material standalone. So that's a very cool thing. All right, I had to pick this one up, even though I've got the box set, but Black Sabbath Forbidden, the 2024 remix. And so this is the standalone edition of it. It's also out on vinyl. Like I said, there's the box set, the Tony Martin Years that came out earlier this year. If you've got that, there's nothing different about this. But for me, because it's a remix, I want a standalone copy that I can just leave sit out, that I can put in the box on the wall, so to speak, with all my other Black Sabbath, because that box set is going to go with all the box sets and won't be with it. But this one here has such a better sound than the original album that I just loved it so much. I wanted to get a standalone copy of it. Cool thing, if you open it up, you get the original full complete album art. As you can see, this is what we ended up with on the original CD release of it. The vinyl edition, I believe, unfolds into that much of it here, whereas with this one, when we spin it around, it doesn't complete it. So that full album art is on the inside. And I always thought that was really cool album art and wish that had been the whole album cover instead of it being truncated into this, which I always thought kind of looked a little silly. There's a cool shot of the band. You get a booklet that's in here on it. And then there were 3 unreleased songs as part of the box set. One of them was the song Loser Gets It All, and it's on here. So even if you owned this back in the day, you chose not to buy the box set, and you wanted to get this for the remix, you're also getting a bonus track on here. But as I said, the sound on this is so much better. Tony Iommi's remix really did one up that album, making it far superior than it ever was. It just, the production on it really suffered from back in the day, or maybe it was the mix, but just all in all, a lot better. Okay, and then we've got George Harrison, Living in the Material World, the 1973 album, now celebrating its, well, really 51st anniversary, but 50 years is how they're putting it out as. It was his 4th solo album at the time. This, the 2 CD edition. So the album itself comes in this cool little clamshell style box, opens up like this. We get a cool little booklet right on top, which of course has lots and lots of great stuff going on about it. We get a poster inside, and then you get the 2 albums in individual sleeves inside here. And those 2 albums have the original album itself now as a remix, a 2024 mix edition of it. And then you get 12 previously unreleased tracks on the second disc. And so you get unreleased material, you get a new mix, and my only kind of bummer is that they didn't put a remastered edition in here, but they haven't been doing that with any of them. So, I mean, I'm okay with it. But at the same time, I kind of think, like, why not go one step further and have a box set that has the remastered album and maybe one additional disc? Don't put the LP in there, but they could have done that, right? We could have had the super deluxe, and maybe there is. Maybe there is. Maybe I'm just don't know about it. But I know that there's this edition, the 2 CD, and there's also the single disc 2024 mix edition that you can get without the bonus material. But I just really liked also that it was in a clamshell style box. And unlike the John Lennon ones that have come out, and some of the Beatle ones, which were in the slip cases, and those were very cool. But I definitely like the clamshell style box a little bit more than those other ones. Incidentally, that is a 60-page book that comes with it. So as I said, filled with lots and lots of cool stuff. All right, and this last thing that I picked up, which I'd actually put off for a week or two, thinking it was not more than it was, and in fact it is, and I hesitated, but I finally went ahead and picked it up. Best of T.Rex, Bowlin' Boogie, and if that logo looks familiar and title looks familiar, apparently, I think it was 1973, his first label put out Bowlin' Boogie, and it had a series of B-sides and singles up till that point, but it wasn't when he had really broken through, which came after that, and they were sort of capitalizing on it. And so I thought it was just a reissue. And it's actually not. It is a new 2024 36 track best of, and it is taking the name Bowlin' Boogie, and it's even using the same way that it's written. Obviously, that was probably something that was done at the time, and so maybe not really being taken from that album. In fact, maybe it's just being taken from pins, buttons, shirts, promo things. Maybe that's really where it's coming from. But like I said, I thought this was just a reissue, and it's not. It's a new collection. And it's done in this 7-inch replica style thing, gatefold, one CD here, and then you've got the lyrics and things. Unfortunately, it doesn't go into any information on the tracks, and that part is a bit of a bummer in here. And then you've got the last CD there. But what is really good about it is the sound quality, the mix. This stuff sounds fantastic. I mean, it almost sounds like it's been remixed because it's so crystal clear, and I hear so much more going on in these mixes here than I've ever heard on past editions of the album. So that was just a cool thing to me. But on top of that, the track listing and the order on here is spot on. It just flows so well. I mean, I got 12 tracks in this thing before I even looked up to sort of question how many were left or what was coming next. It was just, they were that good. It flowed so well. And you've got a nice cross section, but it's also got some rarities on here. And I don't know how rare the stuff is or how unreleased the stuff is, but I was looking up online and I read some of these things. One of them I think was London Boys. That's on here, and there's some other rare stuff. So it does have everything from the hits, but it's got some rare release stuff as well collected together on here. So very, very cool. Like I said, wasn't expecting much from really any of this, but each of those items in their own way turned out to be greater than I thought they were going to be. I kind of thought this week was going to be a nothing week, and I went ahead and I bought some stuff, and then I ended up buying some more stuff and just adding to it, and all in all, ended up having a great release week. November 15th just turned out to be so cool. And for those of you guys that oftentimes look past the reissues, the archival releases, all that sort of stuff, I would say, man, don't skip those on your favorite bands. Sometimes there is some killer stuff getting released that you don't want to look past. I myself, if I'm a fan of the band, I want everything that I can get, and I don't want crap. I want really good stuff. This particular week, I got a lot of it. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed this episode, and maybe out of these 9 items that I showed you, you found something you want to explore or go pick up, or something surprised you as well. And that's the whole point of this, turn you on to some new things and or at least remind you of the cool stuff you got. Hey, if nothing else, go dig out some old T.Rex or some old Trapeze. You can never get enough of those kind of bands. Those are always such great artists out there. All right, everyone, take care, have a good one, and I'll talk to you real soon. Bye.